I think, Senator Marcos, will you allow a brief statement from them, or would you like to take your time now for interpellation?
I would allow the secretary perhaps after the questioning, because this is just continuing my former line of questioning when I ran out of time yesterday. So
Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you,
we will allow
Senator
the
Marcos. And
secretary
my intervention will be very short. I just want to refer to
I'm sorry, Secretary Deras, let me just make this clear. Would you allow her to...
Well, no, I would rather finish mine because baka abutan tayo ng 2:30 na hindi pa natapos yung aking tatanong. So with the but afterwards, I think we will, if I get luck. So let me continue with the line of questioning that I had started yesterday. General Napeñas, during the January 9 meeting with General Purisima, with Mendez, Purisima, and the President, hinanap ba ng Pangulo si General Espina?
No, Your Honor.
Hindi niya sinabi nasan si DDG?
No, Your Honor.
No. General Purisima, did the President look for General Purisima, did the President look for General Espina in your January 9 meeting in the palace?
No, Your Honor.
No, so he was not surprised, and he was not surprised that he was not there, and he went on with the meeting despite the fact that the acting chief PNP was not there. We have heard the testimony today from the different officers. General Katapang, at no point did you inform the President that there was a firefight going on where we were suffering casualties, that PNP staff was suffering casualties.
No, Your Honor, but in the afternoon it became very clear that indeed we had suffered
How
very
did it
big
become
casualties.
clear, General?
When General Guerrero already informed that there were already casualties in the field.
So it was General Guerrero who informed the President.
When he was talked to.
Yes, but so it was the first person to inform the President that there was a firefight, there was an encounter, and we are beginning to suffer heavy casualties. The first time was General Guerrero informing the President. Is that correct?
We are not yet confirmed on how many casualties we have.
I know, but the point I'm trying to the question I'd like answered is, who was the first person to inform the President that there is a firefight in Mamasapano and it has gone wrong? There's an operation, it has gone wrong, and we are beginning to suffer heavy casualties. Who informed the President of that first?
Your Honor, I do not know. May I ask my field commanders if they can be allowed to
Well, no,
answer?
the field commanders were only reporting to you, and you were next to the President, so I presume you would be the closest one. From the side of the PNP, I know that Secretary Mark would not have been the one because he did not know of the operation. General Espina, did you at any point transmit this information to the President?
No, sir.
So what I'm trying to find out, General Purisima, did you at any point, when you heard that because at 5:30 a.m. you were already requesting assistance from the AFP, did you at that point also inform the President, I am requesting assistance from the AFP because yung mga tropa ko ay napasabak at mukhang marami na tayong casualty?
Your Honor, that is the essence of my request earlier, that to clear with the
So at this public hearing today, we are being told that we do not know, or we cannot be told, when the President was first informed about the firefight between the MILF, BIFF, and the PNP SAF.
Your Honor, that's why I'm requesting, because it involves the communication between me and the President, Your Honor.
When did the President know that Marwan had been killed? Ano yung report sa inyo, General Napeñas? Bingo, Mike 1 ang communication?
It's Mike 1 bingo, sir.
Okay, there. But Mike 1 bingo. When was that information relayed to the President? After you received that information, General Napeñas, what did you do with it? What did you do with that information?
I informed the OIC PNP through a text message, and I also informed General Purisima through a text message, Your Honor.
did General Espina, did you forward that information to anyone, to General Purisima or to the President or to SILG?
Sir, about Marwan, I'm not so sure. Ang nakalagay kasi doon, HBT. So it's just ordinary. Pero napapaengkwentro na ng 5:30, ang naging instinct ko, sir, tumawag kay General Guerrero, tulungan sila. Yung encounter na kikailanganan lang ng tulong, alalay. Pero Marwan, I'm still trying to...
Okay, if you could get that information for
sir.
us, please. General Guerrero, did you inform the President at any point that the firefight, there was a firefight and we were beginning to suffer heavy casualties?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, I was told to brief on the situation in Central Mindanao at around 1700 or 5 p.m., Your Honor.
So at that briefing, the President was present?
Yes, sir.
So your briefing was about the firefight of the PNP SAF in Mamasapano against the BIFF and MILF? Yes,
Your Honor, that is based on the information that I'm getting from my division commander. It's very vague. That's not complete.
Okay.
We're just trying to update him on what we learned about the incident from my division commander, Your Honor.
Did the President issue any instructions, having found out that there was a firefight going on?
At that time, we were already discussing the condition of or the state of the 84th SAC.
What were the instructions of the President to you upon finding out that we are beginning to suffer heavy casualties?
We were discussing about the possibility of reinforcing them, but it is already being done by the 6th Infantry Division.
So he did not give you any instructions as to what to do?
The guidance is to reinforce or rescue the group. So my general guidance to my division commander is to do his best effort.
The guidance, what do you mean by guidance? This came from the President? This came from your superior commander? What guidance was that?
We were in a briefing room, Your Honor. The presence of the President, the Chief of Staff, the SND.
What were the instructions to you or any of the officers by the President upon him finding out that there was a firefight and we were suffering heavy casualties in that briefing?
In that briefing, Your Honor, at about 1700, I was discussing about the 84th SAC. So this is the main effort that we found out later on. So the guidance is ensure that there is no friendly fires because we are doing a link-up operations.
So the instructions to you were to ensure no friendly fire. There were no instructions as to the exfiltration of our...
We are already doing that, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So, again, so there were no instructions specific to you by the President after your briefing? Apparently not. General Pangilinan, you said that you were following doctrine, which is well understood. Kaya nyo hindi kayo nagpaputok ng fire mission dahil nga hindi maliwanag ang locations ng mga puwersa. Had, however, there been a direct order from the President to conduct a fire mission in support of the PNP SAF who were pinned down, would you have ordered that fire mission?
Your Honor, just the same, I will follow what is the doctrine.
So you would not have followed the President's order to fire even if it was danger close?
No, Your Honor, unless...
You would have defied an order, a direct order from the President?
Because there is a doctrine that we need to follow. Unless the one that is requesting that it be fired from his position, the one that is requesting is the one that is engaged, probably, Your Honor.
So if
Your Honor,
if those under fire had requested to fire upon my own position, you would have ordered that fire mission. But if the President ordered it, you would not have done it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that is a bit of a. I am a little bit surprised because a direct order from the Commander-in-Chief, you will defy a direct order from the Commander-in-Chief. But anyway. Thank you very much. General Katapang, in your previous testimony, you said, ayaw kong magpalipad ng aking air asset dahil baka ma-misinterpret ng MILF na sabihin nila atake na ito. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So it was more important to you to preserve the peace process rather than save the lives of our policemen.
Your Honor,
Dahil namili ka, you prioritized it. Yeah, you prioritized the peace process or the ceasefire over the lives of our PNP SAF officers.
Your Honor, there was no request for a air support from the PNP SAF.
I would like to go back to the record, and hindi na natin, but I will find the record where it's very, very clear that all support, that any support, I know that General Napeñas called everybody he knew. But anyway, this is now we have a division commander telling us that he would defy a direct order from the president, and now we are hearing that the chief of staff is prioritizing the peace process over the lives of the PNP SAF. So I'm very, very surprised because we talk about doctrine here that is not in military doctrine. Now I'd like to go now to the problem. We have talked about command and control. I'd like to now talk about the coordination process. General Orense, you are the GRP adjunct of you're the GRP adjunct in position.
Yes, sir.
In the report of the AFP, at 5:37 a.m. 25 January, the chairman of the GPH adjunct tried to reach MILF adjunct and could not contact them. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that is 5:37 a.m. 4 o'clock p.m. was the total ceasefire. Tama ba yung aking mga oras?
4 in the afternoon,
4
sir.
p.m., yes.
Yes, sir.
1600 of 25 January.
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you tell me what happened between 5:37 a.m. when you first tried to contact MILF adjunct until the total ceasefire at 1600 of 25 January?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, sir, it's not 5:37. I called him up at about 5:48 in the morning, but unfortunately, his phone could not be reached. So I made another call about 6:38, Your Honor, and the phone just kept on ringing. Then at about 7:31, he was the one who called up, and he informed me that there was already something that was actually unusually happening. I asked him about the inability of not making contact with him. Sabi ko sa kanya, Attorney Dataya, Attorney, kanina pa ako tumatawag sa iyo pero hindi kita makontak. And his retort was, pasensya ka na sa isang 73-year-old na sakitin na matanda. I need rest. Sabi niya gano'n. And
that is at what time, General Lorenzo?
7:31, Your Honor.
In the account of the AFP, 7:30, Major Sol of GPH CCCH contacted the International Monitoring Team. Is that correct? In fact, tumawag pa sa'yo na meron sa account
Yes, Your
ninyo,
Honor.
Commander 6ID called Chairman GPH Ajag if he has contacted his counterpart. Wala pa. But at 7:30 a.m., Major Sol started to organize the contacted the International Monitoring Team and started to organize the Joint Ceasefire Crisis Team. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Very well. So what happened at that point? So hindi nyo na-contact yung MILF adjunct at all?
He was the one who called up at about 7:31, Your Honor, and from then on, we kept communicating with each other with regards to the event that was unfolding.
So
sir.
at 7:31 a.m. Of the 25th of January, MILF adjunct calls Chairman GPH adjunct, and he is informed he will call Darapanan.
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, sir, he said he would call the Darapanan to make some more coordination. If you will remember, sir, the other day I presented, sir, the levels of coordination starting from the operating units up to the MILF adjunct, sir, and that was the one that he did because he had to inform also the Central Committee and what's happening. So what I'm saying here, Your Honor, is that the Central Committee I believe, would have to take actions on what's happening. It's already beyond the AJAG. What's happening, sir, it's already the CCCH at that time, Your Honor.
Thank you. I understand. Okay, so by 7:31 a.m., MILF AJAG was already informed of the situation on the ground. That is what we have in the account. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. But it took 9 hours until the total ceasefire. In fact, at 11:45, the Joint Ceasefire Crisis Team had a dialogue with Guma, who is the 105th Base Commander. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, and it's already the take of the CCCH at that time, Your Honor.
So, Chairman Iqbal, how is it that it took close to 5 hours upon your knowing that there was a missing counter, as you like to characterize it, until the firing stopped? Bakit ganun katagal? And I can only speculate how many people died between 11:45 when the JCCT dialogue with Guma was occurred, and the total ceasefire at 4 o'clock p.m. Why did it take so long? Alam na ng commander ng 105th na gobyerno ang kaharap nila. Bakit nag-antay ng halos 5 oras bago natigil ang putukan?
Senator Marcos, this will be your last question for that time.
That is my last question.
Okay,
I
thank
would
you.
just like to point out the inefficiencies and the ineffectiveness of this coordinating, dahil lagi natin nababalitaan, lagi natin naririnig na hindi nag-coordinate ang kapulisan. Nag-coordinate sila 5:37 pa lang, pero natigil ang putukan alas 4 ng hapon. Chairman Iqbal, please explain how it took so long and why this mechanism, which it seems was followed, did not affect a ceasefire until close to 11 hours later, through which time I can only imagine how many SAF troopers had been killed.
Well, I talked to the chairman of the MILF Coordinating Committee on Cessation of Hostilities, or ceasefire, and I even talked to the head of the International Monitoring Team, and their statement was that they attributed the length of the effectivity of the ceasefire on the collapse of communication. But as to what really happened, why it happened that way, I think the proper personalities to answer that, Your Honor, would be the CCCH of the MILF, CCCH of government, and the members of the International Monitoring Team, because I understand that since around 6 o'clock, 5:30 or 6 o'clock, they were already on the ground trying to effect a ceasefire between the two groups.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. No more questions, but just this statement. We still have to find out, and it has to be explained to us, because it is constantly being said that this happened because of lack of coordination with the MILF. The coordination began with the MILF at 5:37 a.m., 25 January. The fighting stopped at 4 o'clock p.m. of 25 January. That is 10 and a half, 11 hours. Now, the coordination had already begun, but it took 11 hours for the MILF to stop shooting at our forces. That, I think, puts spade to the idea that the coordination was not there. The coordination was there, it was attempted, but it was not implemented until 11 hours later, by which time many of our troopers, by 4 o'clock, lahat ng namatay, patay na. So that is the extent of my interpolation.
We will have that for the record. Thank you for setting that, Senator Marcos. Very briefly, 1 minute, sir.
Yes, sir. That's the coordination is very important, so that the firing should not start, because once the firing starts, it's very hard to separate by experience.
But Guma already knew that the forces in front of him were military, were government forces. The joint dialogue with Guma was at 11:45 a.m.
General, please have your statements written if you have any clarifications to make. Thank you. Senator Recto, it is now your turn. Let me remind the rest of the senators that we have a very important executive session after this one. So we will try to finish. Otherwise, we will have to come back again next week to finish the next round.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, many of my questions have already been asked, so I will only ask 2 or 3 possible questions. 2 for the MILF side. Ginong Iqbal, meron pong BBL na nakahain dito po sa Kongreso at alam naman po ninyo, ang Senado ay hindi malaking rubber stamp which will mechanically out a yes or a no sa kahit anong batas. Being a deliberative body, we offer our insights to cure, improve, amend some of the provisions with the end in view of forging a superior piece of legislation. Kung sakaling mababago ang BBL, substantive in scope but no major dilution of the principles and will not jeopardize autonomy, tatanggapin nyo ba ito? Igagalang nyo po ang pasya at wisdom ng legislatura? Or will you use this as an excuse to turn your back and walk away from the negotiating table?
Thank you, Your Honor, for asking that question. I would repeat what we have been saying, that the MILF trust the collective wisdom of Congress, both the lower house and the upper house, to pass a good legislation in the form of the Bangsamoro Basic Law. And then I would reiterate what had been stated in the letter of Chairman Murad to Congressman Ropos Rodriguez regarding the BBL. The letter said that the position of the MILF is what is contained in the BBL. However, knowing that plenary powers rest with Congress, then the MILF is requesting the Congress to improve and perhaps to hasten the BBL.
Okay. So, maliwanag na tatanggapin ninyo ang pasya ng Kongreso kung meron mga amendment na gagawin ang mga kinatawan.
Ang bottom line po, as far as we are concerned, it's not to the extent of watering it down. Not to the extent of watering it down. Because even if we accept it, Your Honor, mananatili pa rin ang problema. Kasi a watered-down BBL would not address the legitimate grievances of our people. And then, pagtatanggapin ng MILF, halimbawa, yung watered-down na BBL, pati ang MILF magiging out of fashion ng MILF. Magiging irrelevant ang MILF. And then, magpapatuloy yung problema. Kaya ho, ang appeal namin na sana po yung BBL as it is crafted by the Bangsamoro Transition Commission, except for improvement and for enhancement, for Congress really to pass a good legislation in the form of the Bangsamoro Basic.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Iqbal. Naniniwala po tayo na we all know that there are many contentious issues dito sa BBL, no? May mga issue dyan ng kapangyarihan at issue dyan pang pondo. The BBL is not just a political blueprint, but also an appropriations bill. At in the first year estimate, sa aming pagsisiyasat, sa aming pagsusuri sa mga dokumento, sa mga sagot, sa mga iba't ibang forum, ay siguro yung unang taon ng gagastusin dito ng taong bayan, ng ating pamalaan na babayaran ng taxpayer, ay hindi bababa sa 75 billion, Ginong Iqbal. Tama ba yung nabanggit kong halaga? Na hindi bababa sa 75?
Siguro tama ho, more or less.
More or less, opo. Now, just to put things into perspective, Ginong Iqbal, yung budget ng AFP ay 95 billion, ang budget ng PNP ay 70 billion, ang budget ng CCT ay 70 billion. Ganun kalaking pera ang manggagaling sa mga taxpayer outside of the armed region. No? Ganun kalaking halaga to. 70 billion na automatically appropriated na wala nang say ang Kongreso. Sa unang taon pa lang, may mga block grant, may formula, meron social fund, at kung ano-ano pa. No? Hindi ba't kung ang isang grupo ay humihingi ng autonomy, bakit humihingi rin ng pondo? Ang ibig sabihin autonomy ay magsasarili. bakit kinakailangan ganito kalaking pondo ang ibibigay?
Answer it, Your Honor.
Yes, please. Apo.
Unang-una ho, kasi yung autonomy na para sa Bangsamoro, it's still part of the Philippines.
Correct.
Still the Philippines is the mother state. So, as a mother, it's natural that the mother should help the son or the daughter.
Naunawaan po natin yan. Ngunit, posible ang iba't ibang lalawigan sa bansang Pilipinas ay hihingi din ng parehong kapangyarihan o di kaya magtatambo, bakit yung taxpayer money namin ay mapupunta ganun kalaki sa ibang lugar ng Pilipinas na parang masyadong malaking kapangyarihan at pondo ang hinihingi. No? But I will set that aside already, and I'm sure that there will be other hearings when we tackle the BBL by itself na pwede natin pag-usapan to. Ang huling katanungan ko na lang sa ating government side, no? Nung nakaraang hearing, tinanong ko, ano ba talaga ang US involvement sa planning, operation dito kay Marwan? No? At nababasa natin sa payagan na meron reward money, meron mga chopper na ginamit. Yung index finger nga, hindi nabigay sa PNP, napadala sa General Santos, hindi natin nakuna ng litrato, so on and so forth. Pwede bang ipaliwanag ninyo dito sa Senado ngayon?
Your Honor, I believe that those two issues we listed down that will be taken up in the executive session, Your Honor.
So sasagutin ninyo mamaya pagdating
Yes,
sa
Your
executive session. Okay. So yun lang po, Madam Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Recto. If everybody followed your example and stuck to the time, I think we will make it to our executive session. I will give Secretary Delas 1 minute, please, for your manifestation.
Yes, Your Honor, and I can't just let it go because so much was said about the relationship between terrorism and revolutionary movements, and I think that the manifestation of Senator Cayetano, there is a part there that I wish to underline because precisely this will help to enlighten the discourse. He said that that the U.S. government had wanted to put MILF in the terrorist list. It was the Philippine government that asked that it not be included. But very meaningfully, it also said that the U.S. government decided eventually that the best way to delink terrorism and MILF as a revolutionary movement was the peace process. Alalahanin lang ho yun natin ho yun. Yun ho yung sinabi na ang pinakamabisang paraan na ma-disconnect mo ang isang revolutionary movement at ang terorismo is the peace process. And in the end, that is the policy of the U.S. government that has prevailed. Let me also just mention, Your Honors, that IRA was a terrorist, was labeled as a terrorist movement. ANC of Mandela was also a terrorist movement. FARC in Colombia, where there are negotiations now ongoing, that may lead to an agreement where they will become part of a government, was also a terrorist movement. Yun ho yung ating sinasabi na kailangan ho titignan lagi ito in a narrative. Hindi ho, ang evolution ho ng revolutionary movement ay hindi napapako sa iisang sandali. At may nangyayari. At anong ginagawa mo mga yon ay dapat na angkop doon sa kalagayan nito ngayon. And may I just ask, Your Honor, just time also to Professor Ferrer to respond to the manifestation that was with reference to her remarks.
Let me just, we will go ahead and we will ask for that manifestation later on. In the meantime, we will go to Senator Aquino.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to listen to Professor Ferrer's manifestation, so she can take it out of my 1 minute. If it can just be 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Senator Aquino.
Well, very briefly, Your Honors, the matter of the coordination, I think one question that has arisen in these circumstances is whether, in fact, a high-value target operation requires this some kind of a prior coordination between first level between the government involved in the LEO and our ADJAG, and then secondly between the government ADJAG and the MILF ADJAG. I think this has really been part of the problems that we have encountered in the past ever since that kind of a protocol was established in 2002. And that was why in 2012, the implementing guidelines was developed further between the government and the MILF, but we continue to have that kind of difficulty, particularly in relation to coordination between the AFP and the PNP. This is not the first instance that we've had some kind of differences of opinion exactly how to manage circumstances of law enforcement operations that would affect MILF communities. And for that reason, in July 2013, after a series of workshops over 2 months between the police officers and the Armed Forces of the Philippines, we came up with our letter directive of July 2013, further developing the guidelines of cooperation, coordination between the AFP and the PNP, which was signed. This document was signed by no less than the PNP Chief, Alan Purisima, and then AFP Chief Manny Bautista. And although, and it was very clear that the 24-hour rule pertains to non-high value target, but in cases of non-high value target, the prior coordination can happen less time. So that
Professor
is the...
Ferrer, no, sorry to cut you. So are you saying that in your estimation, the ceasefire agreements were not violated by the operations of SAF in the area? Categorically, are you saying they did not violate the ceasefire agreement?
This is the adjunct mechanism which pertains
Well, the
to
adjunct
law.
mechanism?
Yes, sir. I think they have said that they have decided as a matter of judgment call that they will not coordinate this operation with this mechanism.
Kaya nga po, but for the adjunct, and I'm not sure if you can speak for
Yes,
the...
sir.
Can you speak for the adjunct?
Protocol-wise, there was oversight, bypassing of the protocol. But I think, if I may, Your Honor, there are really two questions here. One is how to interpret the protocol. The second is to evaluate the consequences, whether or not it was necessary or not in that circumstances.
Professor, let me ask General Orense of the adjunct. General Orense, no, just to be clear lang with what Professor Ferrer was saying. Sa inyo pong tingin, wala pong violation dun sa adjunct mechanism, dun sa ginawang operations against Marwan?
Meron po, sir. Actually, sir, yung prior coordination, sir.
Okay, kasi iba yung prior coordination sa time on target.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and if indeed there was, you're evaluating that, ano? So kapag hinatulan po ninyo na meron ngang violation, ano po yung consequences po noon?
As of now po, Your Honor, we really do not have any action on that. Maybe it could be just talking with them or telling them that they have violated, so it will not be repeated anymore.
But kumbaga po, may mekanismo tayo, sa tingin nyo po, nilabag yung mekanismo, so ngayon, both parties will have to judge, no, based on that violation, kung ipagpapatuloy pa ba yung mga proseso o hindi. Tama po, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so let me ask Mr. Iqbal, sa tingin nyo po ba, they're also the MILF is also part of the adjunct, tama po? Okay. Do you feel that there was a violation in the adjunct, in your estimation, na meron pong violasyon yung usapin ng ceasefire?
Well, I do not want to say it, but it was already admitted that there was no coordination.
Okay. Kumbaga, nasabi nyo na rin, no? Nasabi nyo na rin, no? Na wala pong coordination, therefore na-violate yung adjunct. Ano po yung magiging aksyon ng MILF ngayon ng nasabi po ninyo na meron pong violasyon dun sa mekanismo ng pagsi-ceasefire?
Doon din mismo titingnan doon sa terms of reference ng adjunct at saka yung sa ceasefire agreement. May mekanismo doon na nag-address kung sakali may violation on the part of government, on the part of the MILF. Yun din mismo ang ma-address.
At doon sa violation na yun, titingnan po ninyo kung nararapat o bang ipagpatuloy yung peace process o hindi.
I think that would not go to that extent because everybody believes that the way forward is to continue the peace process.
Okay. So you're saying, Chairman Iqbal, na kahit may violation, ipagpapatuloy pa rin ninyo yung peace talks?
On the part of the MILF, we are committed to peace. And for us, there is no other option except the option of peace.
Okay. Sabi po ninyo, no, that there is no other option except peace. I would like to ask regarding justice, no? At ito rin po yung tanong ko nung isang araw, and I'm very masaya po ako na nandito po kayo para sagutin yung mga tanong ng diretsahan. Kahapon po, si General Espina gave a very impassioned and emotional plea, no? Plea and a question regarding why his men were treated that way, no? General Espina, no, yesterday in Congress, and I think that went to the hearts of many Filipinos. I'm sure nakita nyo na rin po yung mga video, meron po kayong mga reports on the ground. Handa po ba ang MILF na tumulong sa ating mga government officials na arestuhin, mag-serve ng warrant of arrest kapag panahon na mag-serve ng warrant of arrest, at i-turn over ang mga gumawa po ng mga heinous crimes sa ating mga SAF 44? Handa po ba kayong tumulong?
Mahirap na tanong yan, pero kaya lang, ang gusto kong sabihin dito, yung justice.
Opo.
Kailangan mag-apply yan doon sa two sides. Ibig sabihin, ang hustisya, hindi lang para sa malakas. Ang pinaka-importanting hustisya para sa yung mahina. So, justice would apply to West. However, regarding your question, I think we have a mechanism to address that question. It's in the mechanism of the ceasefire agreement and the adjunct. The MILF, from the beginning, in 1997 up to today, we considered all signed documents as sacred. Even that agreement is signed between Muslims and non-Muslims, because it is the same. Whether you sign an agreement with a Muslim or with a non-Muslim, the sacredness of that agreement is the same.
First of all, no, Mr. Iqbal, no, yung malakas at mahina in this case, maybe traditionally malakas yung gobyerno at mahina po yung mga kasama ho natin sa MILF. Pero in this case, klarong-klaro po, di hamak mas marami po yung ibang forces, no? At kung makikita rin po ninyo, mas maliit rin yung puwersa na pumasok po sa Mamasapano compared to the forces that were there. Yung nakita ho natin kahapon, no, yung nag-surface po ng mga videos at yung medical legal report na meron pong mga pinatay ng harap-harapan. Yun po, labag rin po yun sa mga patakaran po ng MILF, hindi po ba?
Your Honor, would you allow me to read a portion of the code of conduct of the Bangsamoro Islamic Armed Forces?
Please, please.
Yeah. It's Article 1, items 4, 5, 6, and 7. Number 4, wounded enemy combatants. Never betray or be treacherous or vindictive. Do not mutilate, don't cut or burn palm trees or fruitful trees or ruin dwellings. Don't slay sheep, a cow, camel, or other animals except for food. This is a hadith from Prophet Muhammad. Number 5, surrender enemy combatants. Maintain and observe justice at all time and avoid blind retaliation. Protect and treat them humanly. It's in the Quran. Number 6, prisoners of war or captives. Be kind at all time to captives or prisoners of war. Collect and care for wounded combatants. It's still in the Quran. Number 7, medical or distinctive signs. Respect personnel and facilities or persons bearing mark with signs as Red Cross or Red Crescent, including religious persons, military or civilians. Carrying white flag used for negotiation, truce, or surrender. You know, Your Honor, I am touched by this one.
So, ang sinasabi po ninyo, yung nakita ho ng taong bayan na pagtrato sa ating SAF 44, na pagpatay sa kanila ng harap-harapan, sinasabi niyo po ngayon na
masakit sa amin yung pagkamatay ng SAF 44.
At yung kung paano po sila pinatay, yung nakita ho natin.
Kaya nga ho, kailangan natin ng independent investigation para makita natin.
Okay. Madam Chairman, I'd just like to give the last word to General Espina. Yesterday po, meron kayong hinaing. In fact, it brought General Napeñas to tears kahit po kami. Many of us were moved by that statement. At this point, and this was also my question in the last time, no? Ano pa rin po yung hustisya na hinahanap po ng ng ating kapulisan dito po sa nangyari?
Alam niyo po, katulad po nung nasabi ko noon pa, tagal ko na pong nilagay ang sarili ko doon sa paanong humahanap po ng hustisya. Doon mo malalaman nyo na katulad nung pamilya, ano ho ba ang gusto nilang mahanap so that we'll have a good perspective of what real justice are we seeking. Kaya nga ho yan, malaman ho ang katotohanan. Kung malaman po yung katotohanan through investigation, dapat pong maparusahan kung sino man mo may pagkakamali, kung sino yung pumatay, kung sino nagkamali, etc. And all others, kasi hindi na natin mababalik yung nagwan po ng injustice. Buti ho, nandito si Chairman Iqbal at least naparating po natin sa kanila kung ano ho yung mga nangyari doon sa mga pulis namin. Maraming salamat po kung if I may, kung I hope sama-sama po sana tayo. 44 po yung aming namatay. Sabi niyo sa inyo 18. Pero we have to be both together here po, no? We seek justice for our people. Yung sa inyo din naman ho. Sana maging ganun din. Salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Pam. For next interpolator, Senator Pia Cayetano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. I'd like to start with a quick manifestation. As chairman of the Committee of Women and Children, I am very much aware of the situation of civilian women and children. Just to make this clear, our concern today and in the past 15 days in the pursuit of justice does not in any way disregard the plight of the civilians and the women and children as it seems to be insinuated in many incidents just because we do not put a rubber stamp or immediately sign off on the BBL. As my colleague has said just earlier, it is our job to review the BBL. Kahit na anong bill na pumasok dito, ang tindi ho ng revision na dumadaan, pati ho ang RH law na pinaghirapan ko. So sana ho maintindihan nyo rin na talagang ganyan din, dumadaan ho talaga sa butas ng karayom ang mga mahihirap na batas. At kung gawin namin ang aming trabaho, hindi ibig sabihin na kinakalimutan namin ang mga karapatan ng bawat Pilipino. We are for justice and peace for every Filipino. Let me make that clear because it insults me to hear insinuations that just because we pursue this, that we are not for peace or that we are not for other members of our society. So on that note, let me address my questions to Chairman Iqbal. Katulad po ng sinabi ko dun sa mga naunang dumalo dito na resource persons for the past 2 days, maraming salamat po na pinag-abalahan nyo na dumating dito at pahalagahan ang hearing ng Senado ng Republika ng Pilipinas. Salamat po. In the last hearing, I expressed my dismay that it took the MILF 15 days to decide to return the arms and the personal belongings of the soldiers of the SAF to their families. Tanong ko lang po, bakit ho inabot ng ganong katagal na ibalik ang government property at ang mga konting bagay-bagay na ibibigay lang naman sa isang nanay o isang asawa para maalala niya yung kanyang minahal?
Alam po natin yung nangyari. Ulitin ko, tragic incident. Unfortunate incident. Maraming nasawi sa party ng SAF. Marami rin nasawi sa amin. Kung ano mang ang nasasaloob, damdamin ng mga pamilya na SAF na namamatay, ganun din po ang damdamin ng mga pamilya ng mga puwersa namin na namamatay. So, because of that, we are dealing with human feelings. And human feelings cannot be addressed abruptly. We have to understand human nature. So, kailangan po rin intindihin yung damdamin po ng mga pamilya ng namatayan para po para po hindi magiging you are solving one problem and creating another problem. That's why we need really to engage with them, that there has to be sacrifice aside from those being killed in the name of peace. Kasi mas sa amin importante yung buhay nung namamatay. Pero meron itong sitwasyon na dapat ipagpatuloy po natin ang kapayapaan. So yun, pinakiusapan po namin yung mga combatants namin na mayroon mas mahalaga na bagay na dapat magsakripisyo tayo. That takes it quite long for the MILF really to decide that we are returning the firearms captured from the SAF commandos. But I have to register here that not only firearms were taken by the MILF, there are groups. The BIFF has said that they captured 10. And then, gaya na nangyari sa ibang lugar, sa Sulu, sa Basilan, sa Maguindanao, kung meron nangyari ganyan, yung mga sibilan mabilis din eh. So, ina-account po namin kung ano ba talaga napunta sa amin na mga armas, so yun po ang isasauli po namin.
Thank you, sir, for your candid response, and I do appreciate that there are emotions involved here. Pero yun din ho ang dahilan kung bakit meron tayong mga opisyalis. Kailangan po, siguro, ito suggestion ko din, na mabilis din naman ho tayong sumagot dun sa mga issue na yun. Kasi po, it is very vital to the peace process to be able to hear that you acknowledge that this is government property on the one hand, and these personal belongings are part of the human rights of every person. Yun lang ang aking ding response dun sa candid nyo naman na sagot, which I appreciate. Sana ho maisip din natin yun kasi yun ho ay nakadagdag sa sakit at sa hirap na dinadanas natin ngayon na hindi masagot yun ng ganong katagal po na panahon. Especially with incidents that sumagot ang mga combatants doon sa mga asawa ng SAF at kung ano-anong pinagsasabi. Sana maganda hong narinig sa officials on your part na gagawin namin ang lahat para maibigay kaagad yun. Kasi yun naman din po ang sinasabi nyo. That is your objective. Kailangan nyo lang idaan sa proseso. Anyway, let me move on to my next point. Narinig nyo po yung sinabi ni Secretary De Lima about the applicability of criminal laws. And when you were asked just earlier by Senator Bam if you will coordinate with government agencies in the investigation and in the surrender of these persons, ang sagot nyo po mahirap na tanong yan. Dapat both sides magkaroon ng justice. I agree. Tama naman po na mahirap na both sides must have justice. Pero sabi din po kasi ninyo kay Senator Alan kanina nung referring to the video, kung yung bang mga nakita natin doon in our own personal capacities at it has not been presented in the Senate, ano ho bang description nyo doon at yung mga gumawa ho noon isusurrender ba? Ang sagot nyo po is malala pa sa terorismo yon. I remember that, and therefore, I'm a little bit confused now with the answer kay Senator Bam and kay Senator Alan kasi ang intindi ko is kung sino ang responsible sa mga ganong acts, you will coordinate with government to identify these persons and surrender their persons. Can we just get clarity, sir, on that answer?
Well, narinig natin yung explanation ni Secretary De Lima na meron mga karumadumal na aktibidad na labag yan sa international law. So, in matters of principle, dahil pag-application ng yung batas na yan, na ay hindi lang mag-apply yan halimbawa sa MILF, pati sa gobyerno ng Pilipinas. So, ibig sabihin, kung yung war crime na yan halimbawa, ay mapapatunayan after duly yung fair and impartial investigation na mayroong gumawa noon, halimbawa sa MILF o di kaya anong grupo, siguro not just the MILF, even the government of the Philippines is bound by the rule of that international law. So in matters of principle, pag mapatunayan yung ganon, na talaga may war crime, siguro that would apply.
Okay, thank you. Just for the record, it's also part of domestic law kasi na-adapt po yung provisions na yon sa Republic Act po natin. Moving forward, well, the reason I asked that is because I guess in principle sinasabi nyo it will be done, pero yung concern ko is kung sa gamit nga lang po nahirapan tayong isurrender lalo po yung sa tao. So I'm just making known that concern that I have. Follow up po to sa tanong ni Senator Alan naman na sinabi niya, paano ho kung matatalo ang MILF sa parliamentary election, titigil na ba kayo? Ang sabi po ninyo, wala na kaming armas, na-decommission na, di wala na. Ang aking lang namang nais sabihin ngayon is, may balita po kasi na may foreign funders. Hindi ko pwedeng itago yon dahil marami hong nakakarinig ng ganon. So, concern ko yun na kung ang sasagot din ng decommission, there's also that concern that if there's a will, there's a way, and the news that there are foreign funders out there. So, that is a concern that I also have.
Ano ho ang pinupunduhan? Kasi sa ngayon, dami-daming foreign funders na tumutulong dito sa peace process.
Ang armas po, katulad po nung pinakita niya na 750,000 to 1 million.
Yun na nga ho, ang sabi ko kanina, ano pa pang saysay na kukuha pa ng armas ng MILF, ang pinag-usapan dito, pag nakumpleto na yung proseso, magdi-decommission ng MILF.
That is what we would like to happen. Another question po, follow-up kay Senator Ginggona naman. Sabi niya, sabi niyo po sa kanya, wala hong lugar na may complete authority ang MILF. And what you want to happen under the BBL is to have legal authority. And then you added po, kung mananalo yung MILF sa parliament, mas masusugpuan ang karahasan. Ang tanong ko po is, under the BBL may police force. Kung sa ngayon po, may sariling police force ang BBL. Kung sa ngayon po, hindi naman natin nakita, at least in this particular incident, na nag-aaway ang MILF and Bangsamoro. In fact, they seem to be living fairly peacefully in Mamasapano. Bakit pa ho kailangan ng separate? Kasi this incident brings to our attention the possible conflict that can happen if there is a separate Bangsamoro police. That has been the discussion in many venues.
Actually, there is no separate Bangsamoro Police. The Bangsamoro Police is part of
Yes.
the Philippine National
I
Police.
do know that, sir. It is in Section 2. It is identified. Pero meron pa rin. Bakit ho? Unlike in other areas, there is no such entity na Bangsamoro Police. Bakit pa ho na kailangan ng ganun?
Meron daw armed force. Nandito naman si Governor Hataman. May police na naman sa army.
Actually, may pro-ARMRD, armed talaga, pero ang reporting niya not to the regional governor, but to the chief PN pa rin.
So if I may get clarity from General Espina, so what we have now is one whole unit. Is there any such entity that similar to what will be created under the Bangsamoro? Does that exist in any way right now, General Espina or Secretary Mar? And any concerns that you have on that? And I think that's my last question.
Ma'am, the police force that's going to be set up in the Bangsamoro would be under the Chief PNP and under the supervision of NAPOLCO. Resolved na po yan.
Yes, I know. Pero does that kind of setup exist now in
No.
any other
No, not
way?
yet.
So that's why we are creating something new.
Yes.
And why is that necessary? That is my question. Bakit kailangan may Bangsamoro Police? Wala namang Cordillera Police, wala namang Bisaya Police. Yun lang po yung gusto ko maintindihan kasi this incident has brought to our attention na yung possible conflict na mangyayari. Kung wala namang internal problems between BI and MI na, bakit may kailangan na Bangsamoro Police? Ba't hindi pwedeng PNP na lang?
Ma'am, it's more on the regional police office that we are referring to here. Yung pro-arm namin is also a regional police, which is a unit of the Philippine National Police. Itong Bangsamoro Police would be a regional police unit of the PNP.
Just like any other regional police unit
Yes,
all over
ma'am.
the country?
Yes, ma'am.
Any further comments, Secretary Mar, on that? I don't know if you can explain it better to me because you're a civilian like us.
Thank you po. No. The present PRO, by the way, PRO is Police Regional Office. So the present PRO arm, in fact, becomes or converts into the PRO Bangsamoro. The So it's not like we're creating a new entity. Basically, it's the entity that is there that will now be sort of renamed to reflect the name of the new area.
Pero police has to be composed of Bangsamoro people. Hindi naman.
Well, not necessarily, but that is.
Secretary Delis is shaking her head. No.
But that is also our policy all over the country, because in Cordillera, the PRO Cordillera and all of the provincial offices of the PNP in Cordillera are the people from Cordillera, the people from Region 1, the people from Region 2 are pretty much those that occupy those positions in their respective areas.
Thank you, Chairman Iqbal.
Thank you, Senator Pia.